On the first night of winter, Sir Kevan Lannister was treated to dinner and a show, a two-man murder mystery, one written with the skill of a master mummer. What the old knight didn't know was that he would be part of the evening's entertainment, and unfortunately for him, he was cast in the role of victim. Lord Varys took to the stage to deliver a chilling monologue, one grand elaborate confession. In my previous video, I explained that this confession wasn't for Sir Kevan's benefit, nor for any other potential listener. This was a chance for Varys to reveal a glimpse of his true self, a moment for him to openly celebrate as he nears his endgame. At heart, Varys is a monster, a vindictive villain who makes light of the suffering of others. Now that we've discussed the selfish and sadistic reasons why Varys made this dramatic confession, we must now determine if there's any truth to what was said. Is the boy called young Griff truly Aegon, son of Rhaegar? Or is he a feigned boy who bears a dragon's name? On our way to the theories, please do me the honor of liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications. And now, on with the video. Young Griff is a character introduced in A Dance with Dragons. Tyrion Lannister is the first of the surviving POV characters to meet him when he is sent by Varys to Pentos to escape execution. He finds the young lad living upon the River Rhoyne in a single-masted poleboat called the Shy Maid. Young Griff is accompanied by an interesting cast of misfit characters. Among them are the married couple Ysilla and Yandri. Then there are the Westerosi exiles, Sir Rolly Duckfield, Haldon Halfmaester, the Septa Lamore, and a man named Griff. Tyrion is told that Griff is the father of young Griff. Father and son dye their hair blue to pay respects to young Griff's deceased Tyroshi mother. Colorful hairstyles are a Tyroshi custom. After observing the day-to-day activities aboard the Shy Maid, Tyrion begins to suspect that this unlikely lad may be more than what he claims to be. Young Griff is trained in combat by Sir Rolly Duckfield, a newly made knight. He is instructed in the ways of the faith by the Septa Lamore. He is taught a lot of scholarly topics by Haldon Halfmaester, a very curious curriculum for a sellsword son, something Tyrion points out to Haldon right before a game of Syvass. Quote, "The boy is bright. You've done well by him. Half the lords in Westeros are not so learned, sad to say." A wager is made over the outcome of the game. Instead of playing for coin, Tyrion and Haldon will trade secrets. In the end, Tyrion wins, and in turn, he is given the truth of what is really going on aboard the Shy Maid. The boy called young Griff is not the son of Griff, nor is that even his name. His real name is Aegon, and he claims to be the son of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. It is believed by all that the infant Prince Aegon was killed during the sack of King's Landing. Sir Gregory Clegane confessed during Tyrion's trial by combat to murdering the infant and his young mother. The man said to be his father is really Jon Connington, the former Lord of Griffin's Roost and the once and future Hand of the King. Mad King Aerys had Connington exiled after his failure to capture Robert Baratheon during the Battle of the Bells. Connington fled to Essos where he joined the Golden Company, but was dismissed from their service after being caught stealing from the company's coffers. Now twice exiled, the last anyone heard of Connington is that he died a destitute drunkard. It should come as no surprise that this was all an elaborate story cooked up by Lord Varys to keep the perfect princeling and his protector safe. This so-called Aegon, like Viserys and Daenerys, has spent the years waiting for the opportunity to take back the Targaryen ancestral seat. The boy's claims are most certainly possible. It would not be the first time in Targaryen history that a spy master saved Targaryen heirs by sneaking them out of the castle through one of its many hidden passages. Larys Strong took Aegon II and his heirs to safety by similar means. Varys himself hastened Tyrion away through those same hidden passageways. Maegor the Cruel had the castle designed for this very purpose. So there is hope then that one of Rhaegar's heirs with Elia Martell has survived, and that the tragedy that took place the night the Lannisters sacked King's Landing has something of a bittersweet ending. Yet when you consider the source of the story, the deceitful and duplicitous Lord Varys, the master of whisperers, the spider, then the tale becomes a potion too bitter to swallow. How can we trust a man who lies as easily as most people breathe? How can we trust a man who claims to want peace for the realm, yet has consistently pushed for war? When it comes to the idea that Aegon, son of Rhaegar and Elia of Dorne, has survived, I must confess that I have doubts. I have such doubts. Lord Varys simply isn't trustworthy enough. When dealing with the spider, you must also maintain some level of suspicion. There of course is no concrete evidence that confirms whether or not young Griff is who he claims to be, but there may be clues. and all the clues I've compiled seem to indicate we have an imposter on our hands. First, let's explore the lies in Arbor Gold theory. This is the theory that states whenever the wine known as Arbor Gold is mentioned, someone may be lying, that some sort of deception is being made. This was first noticed in A Feast for Crows, to quote Peter Baelish from a Sansa chapter when they are discussing the truculent Lord Nestor Royce. "We shall serve him lies in Arbor Gold, and he will drink them down and ask for more. I promise you, he is serving me lies as well," Sansa realized. They were comforting lies though, and she thought them kindly meant. A lie is not so bad if kindly meant, if only she believed them. Later, much later, after the flagon of Arbor Gold was dry, Lord Nestor Royce took his leave to rejoin his company of knights. Sansa was asleep on her feet by then, wanting only to crawl off to her bed, but Peter caught her by the wrist. "You see the wonders that can be worked with lies in Arbor Gold?" Cersei Lannister thinks of or requests Arbor Gold during her talks with her newly appointed council and several scenes throughout A Feast for Crows. We know she lies quite often. Those who serve her lie often as well, some of whom hold ulterior motives so they cannot be trusted. Young Griff claims that Varys exchanged him with another infant for a jug of Arbor Gold. The infant's father had a taste for wine, but he had yet to taste Arbor Gold, so when Varys made the offer, he found it too tempting to pass up. The man was said to be from a slum called Pisswater Bend. By saying the man and his son lived in a slum, it makes it easy to believe that such a destitute figure would sell their own flesh and blood for an expensive wine. However, it is the mention of Arbor Gold that leads me to believe that this exchange of infants simply did not happen. And if the exchange of infants did not happen, then it grieves me to say that Aegon Targaryen did not survive. He was murdered on the same night as his sister and his mother. This young Griff is a fake dragon. Let us return to A Clash of Kings. There we will find a Targaryen whose blood no man can question. Daenerys Stormborn. In Clash, Daenerys visits the House of the Undying, where she has a series of prophetic visions. We've talked about her visions in the past, and we will again in the future, but for the present, we will focus on one of them, the vision of a cloth dragon swaying on poles amidst a cheering crowd. Jorah and Dany discuss the vision after she leaves the ruins of the House of the Undying. Quote, "A dead man in the prow of her ship? A blue rose? A banquet of blood? What does any of it mean, Khaleesi? A mummer's dragon, you said. What is a mummer's dragon, pray?" "A cloth dragon on poles," Dany explained. "Mummers use them in their follies, to give their hero something to fight." One definition of folly is, quote, "a light theatrical entertainment consisting of a series of short sketches, songs, and dances." Folly was also a common allegorical figure in medieval morality plays. In those dramas, the character of Folly tempts the protagonist into committing some sort of foolish action. This fits with what Daenerys had to say about cloth dragons being targets for the heroes in the shows that mummers put on. Varys was once a mummer, so if this boy called Aegon is a player in the show Varys has been designing, then he can be considered a mummer's dragon. Twice Daenerys has been forewarned of a mummer's dragon, once by the Undying and then again by Quaithe the Shadowbinder. Quaithe, who came to Daenerys in a dream to warn her of her many approaching enemies. Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son, and the mummer's dragon. Daenerys must trust none of them. I know Quaithe is regarded with a lot of suspicion, but when she first met Daenerys, she offered her one thing. The truth. She was the only person who wanted to give something to Daenerys and not to take something from her. The truth is what she had to offer, truth that could be found in A Shy by the Shadow. And as I've said before, one of the themes in this series is the truth versus lies. Tyrion Lannister is told by yet another magic user, the Red Priest Mokoro, that false dragons will be appearing sometime in the future. Quote, "Someone told me that the night is dark and full of terrors. What do you see in those flames?" "Dragons," Mokoro said in the common tongue of Westeros. "Dragons old and young, true and false, bright and dark, and you, a small man with a big shadow, snarling in the midst of it all." Daenerys is without a doubt the true-born daughter of Rhaella and Aerys Targaryen. Maester Aemon was the true-born son of Maekar Targaryen and his wife Diana Dane. Bloodraven might exist in a very tortured, broken form, but even still, he was a legitimized bastard of Aegon the Unworthy and Melissa Blackwood. Jon Snow is more than likely the true-born son of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. There is precedent for Targaryen kings to take more than one bride. Even long after their dragons were dead, Daemon Blackfyre almost took 2 brides for himself, but he was denied by his kingly brother. If Rhaegar and Lyanna had wed, then Jon would be a true-born dragon. However, Jon Snow is not claiming to be a Targaryen, at least not yet, so we cannot consider him as a false dragon. If anything, Jon feels he is a false Stark, as the Kings of Winter tell him when he walks through Winterfell's crypts in his nightmares. For all Jon knows, he is the bastard son of Ned Stark and some unknown woman, but Jon Snow knows nothing. So of all the surviving dragons featured in the story, young Griff stands out as the only candidate that could potentially be a false dragon. With all of these visions, we were warned about young Griff's arrival long before he appeared on the page. Now that the character is finally here, the first point of view character to meet him is Tyrion Lannister, a man who has served false monarchs before. Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen were bastards born of incest, treason, and adultery. Tyrion still maintained the lie that they were true-born Baratheons all the same. There are many great privileges when you're related to the blood royal. All of those benefits would have disappeared if Tyrion did not help his sister and her brood to keep their crowns. No doubt that's one of the reasons why Varys sent Tyrion to Pentos to be part of his plan, rather than send him anywhere else in the world. Tyrion is highly intelligent and highborn, which makes him a great asset, yet he is also shrewd and suspicious. He has already entertained thoughts that young Griff is not Aegon Targaryen. During a round of scythe-ass, Tyrion provokes the prince into an outburst of anger and then thinks to himself this, quote, "I lied, trust no one, and keep your dragon close." Young Griff jerked to his feet and kicked over the board. Scythe-ass pieces flew in all directions, bouncing and rolling across the deck of the Shy Maid. "Pick those up," the boy commanded. He may well be a Targaryen after all. Varys would be aware that Tyrion would have doubts once he learned all about what's going on aboard the Shy Maid. Varys would also be aware that Tyrion is in no position to rock the boat. If Tyrion wants to return to Westeros and to claim his title of Lord of Casterly Rock, then his best bet is to keep his doubts to himself and to support a monarch who can pardon him for his crimes, even if that monarch is a fraud. As we all well know, A Song of Ice and Fire is inspired by real history, and in real history, many reigning monarchs have had their rule contested by false claimants. In the aftermath of the English Civil War known as the War of the Roses, two people attempted to claim the crown by pretending to be long-lost royals. There was Lambert Simnel, who claimed to be Edward Plantagenet, and then Perkin Warbeck, who claimed to be Prince Richard, one of the two missing princes in the Tower. The Tsar, who would come to be known as Ivan the Terrible, sent his youngest son Dimitri and the child's mother to live in the city of Uglik. There, the young Tsarevich died under mysterious circumstances. In the years to come, 3 men would lead rebellions claiming to be Dimitri. Each one would be known as the false Dimitri. There were 3 or perhaps even 4 attempts by these false Dimitris to claim rule over Russia. These repeated rebellions bring to mind the many Blackfire rebellions in Westeros. But I believe the title of False Dragon comes from another high fantasy series. In Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, there is a legendary character known as the Dragon Reborn. Many have been waiting for this legendary figure to return so that the dragon can face and defeat the Dark One. There have been several times throughout history when men would claim to be the Dragon Reborn. These pretenders are all known as false dragons. We find out later in the series that it is the earnest, hardworking teenager, the one with mysterious parentage, who is actually the true Dragon Reborn. And in A Song of Ice and Fire, we have a false dragon being paraded around, while the true dragon waits to be revealed. The earnest, hardworking teenager with mysterious parentage who may or may not be Azor Ahai Reborn. As of A Dance with Dragons, the realm is decaying under more and more lies. Jane Poole pretends to be Arya Stark in the north, the man holding her hostage, the bastard Ramsay Snow, and his father, along with the Freys, spread falsehoods about what truly happened at the Red Wedding, and even more lies about how Winterfell was taken. A godless man sits the Sea Stone chair, a kinslayer with blue lips, a false Baratheon sits the Iron Throne, a child born of incest, treason, and adultery. Now the Golden Company leads the charge to support a false Targaryen king. All this and more, and now winter is finally here. Such folly, such black, mad folly. But relief may come soon. In the House of the Undying, Daenerys was called Bride of Fire and Slayer of Lies. The stage is being set for the Dance of the Dragons Part 2. Make no mistake, Daenerys and young Griff will clash. Now you might be thinking, how can this be the next Dance of the Dragons if I just spent several minutes explaining why I think young Griff is not a Targaryen? You must remember, black or red, a dragon is still a dragon. In the final part of this series, we will draw a timeline of the life and lives of Lord Varys. We will explore his hatred of House Targaryen, the reason why he was mutilated, and just why he has invested so much in the makings of a Targaryen pretender. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, it's time to call the banners. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you think young Griff is truly Aegon, son of Prince Rhaegar. Don't forget to ring that bell to turn on notifications. And again, thank you all for watching. I will see you all for the next one.